Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to On Your Mental. This is the podcast that shares candid, open, and sometimes vulnerable conversations between and about men. And welcome to season 3. We're kicking off this season with a bang. We've got a great guest today. This is Gerard joining us. Gerard is a YouTuber out of Vancouver. Over the years, he's grown a very large audience, and I'm honored to be able to have him on this show. He's here to talk about some stuff related to mental health. So for those of you who are my audience, familiar with me, I think you're going to enjoy this episode. And for all of those of you from Derek's audience joining for potentially the first time here, I hope you enjoy, and I hope you get to see a different side of Derek too. So without further ado, welcome to season 3. Let's get it going. I'll see you in a moment when the episode starts. Peace.
Okay, wait, let me make sure I'm on airplane mode. Okay.
No worries. Hey, thanks. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
Derek, welcome. Welcome to On Your Mental.
I feel welcome. I feel like I am, in the best way possible, in a therapy office.
Yeah.
But like, you're like a cool therapist who's like hip and young.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean?
Does he know what he's talking about? Is he actually going to do his job?
Yeah, does it really matter?
That's me. Exactly.
No, the vibe is great.
Thanks,
So
man.
which ones are the new ones?
So the new ones, thanks for asking, dude. This one's new on my left, on my right, and behind you there is the new one. So Snow Allegra is behind you. I have her and Pop Smoke. And then Mac Miller is still here. For us, cameras can't see it, but we got J. Cole and Frank Ocean up there.
I know you're a huge Frank Ocean
I'm a
fan.
big Frank Ocean fan.
I listened to my first Frank Ocean song.
Today?
Yeah.
Liar.
The
Really?
first- yeah. Because of TikTok. It's like trending. There's
Lost.
Like yeah.
No. You're trying to do the dance? You're doing the...
Trying.
Yeah,
But it's good.
The
But I
guy
feel
who-
like the second I said that out loud, I'm like, any Frank Ocean fan is going to be so mad. I'm like, yeah, dude, do you know Lost by Frank Ocean? That's a great song. I haven't heard the album yet, but it's dope.
When you listen to music, I've talked to other guests about this too. When you listen to music, let's say it's an album, are you a shuffle right away on the first listen, or are you a start to finish?
Well, I feel like my ideology is that the artist they made it with the purpose of listening from start to finish.
Thank you.
It's like the Weeknd's new album. If you didn't listen to that from start to finish,
What am I listening to?
yeah, it'd be so weird. But when you do it, and it goes through, it's so nice. But then it kind of sucks when it's like super hardcore. You know, you need to listen from start to finish, and then you put it into your playlist, and then you're on shuffle, and then Jim Carrey's like, "We got a slow jam coming up next," and then freaking 6ix9ine starts playing on my shuffle. I'm like, this is not what he intended.
That's a fair point, man.
Yeah.
Today I was actually driving. I only listened to the Weeknd album yesterday for the first time, and I have mixed feelings about it so far. I feel like I was just doing too much. I was setting up this, and so I was maybe distracted. I wasn't taking in the album. You know what I mean? But today I was driving in the car, and I was driving for a bit volume down, so didn't hear the song, and then turned volume up when I got back into the car later, and it was just one of those tracks where it's like the radio DJ coming on. I'm like, what am I listening to?
Yeah, tons of mixed reviews on it. I feel like 90% of them are just Weeknd fans who want him to be the old Weeknd, which is so frustrating because it's like, I know exactly how he probably feels seeing those comments of like, I just want you to do like After Hours again or whatever. Because like I get that stuff all the time of people like, you need to go back to like when you used to do toy reviews, and I'm like, that's not me anymore, you know. Now. But also it's like, I don't know, it's so frustrating because like I can empathize as well because I've used to watch YouTubers or podcasts where after a while I'm like, dude, when they first started, it was so much better. But I think that's just. You can't recreate the magic that it once was. You can't try and force it. Like, and everything that's great needs to eventually come to an end. So stop asking me to do toy reviews, okay, guys? No, I'm joking.
You need to, as an artist, I think you need to evolve and change change your art. Your art needs to grow with you, right? And I find that interesting that you bring that up. I think that ties in perfectly to what we're going to be talking about today. Derek is joining us, everybody, on the podcast today because we're going to be talking about stuff related to mental health. Derek has grown a large YouTube following, over 2 million subscribers, and he's starting to do some work around mental health. And I find that really interesting, and I appreciate you taking the time to come out here and be on this podcast.
Well, first of all, I have to interrupt you to say a lot of people also appreciate you doing this podcast because it's something so cool. And I'm not trying to like suck your dick, like whatever. Oh, sorry. Can I swear?
Yes, but
okay.
This is nonsense.
Like so quickly, but it's really like needed and cool and
Thanks,
great.
man.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't like appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fair. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Today, since we're going to be talking about stuff related to mental health, and we're kicking off season 3, by the way, everybody welcome.
Oh, yes. Let's go. Woohoo!
I hope it's going to be a great season. I have lots planned, and I'm really excited for Steph. And what a great way to start by having you here on your mental.
Can I buy these?
Not yet. One day, maybe, probably, 100%. But
you should do it.
Yeah, there needs to be the reason to do it first.
No offense, but what the hell is the point of us drinking out of them if they can't buy them?
We will be able to buy mugs one day. Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe to share with my audience, share with your audience why mental health matters to you. Let's start by maybe talking about that a little bit. Myself, mental health wasn't something that I really cared about or I guess was aware of until much later in my life. For example, I only started counseling at the end of 2019. I only started journaling at the end of 2019 because my counselor said to do it. Yeah. You know, I never was in tune with mental health. I learned about it in school a little bit in university, but the context that I learned about mental health in was in the context of criminology. I was learning how mental health weighs into crime. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that was my first exposure to hearing about it in an education
and
standpoint.
Like probably not the best
first exposure. It's like, okay, people who have anxiety and depression tend to be delinquent and become criminals. Like, no. Yeah. So my first question for you is, how has mental health kind of presented itself in your life? Why is it relevant to you? Why you care about it? Why should maybe your audience care about it? But we'll get more into that later.
Yeah. I'm interested to know your answer. So you were saying that like in university, when you started learning about it, were you kind of like, oh, this is super cool, I want to learn more? Or did it like align with the parts of your life as well?
At the time, it was just straight up part of the curriculum. I didn't think past that. Okay. Throughout university, I didn't bring mental health awareness into my life. Still no. The most I did was I would raise money for Movember. Right. And I've done that for the past 5 years. And so that, like, I was aware of it. So maybe since 2016, I've been aware of mental health, but not at a level of actually practicing things that are better for mine outside of physical activity. Yeah. That would be it.
Okay. Yeah. I think for me, it came into my life because I was at like not rock bottom, but at such like I've been super fortunate to where all of the things that I've kind of wanted to accomplish, I've been able to like go for. Like I've had the opportunity to go for them, which is of course like I should be so happy that I just have that opportunity. And also I've been able to accomplish the thing that I wanted since I was a kid, which is to be a YouTuber. Right. You know, like there's kids that want to be in the NBA and some of them get to do it. And there's some people who want to become a YouTuber and I was able to do it. Mm-hmm. The reason that I started to dive into my mental health is because I had a really stable income from a job that I really love doing, great friends, a great mom, like a place to live. And I wasn't like happy. I wasn't not just happy, but like maybe it came from a spot where I was like, oh, these are the things that are going to make me happy. Like once I hit 1 million subs, once, I have like friends that I think are amazing. And then once that I came to that realization, that's when I was like, oh shit, this is something that's bigger than just me reaching a goal. This is like something that I actually need to, focus on as much as I'm focused on trying to grow my YouTube channel. I need to grow my brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what got me into it.
Cause it's almost like if you took all that at face value, right? Having a home, having a stable job, income, right? You have good friends, a good circle around you. It's like, check. I should be okay.
I was literally the person commenting on YouTubers' videos who would complain in their videos saying, what the fuck are you complaining about? Like you make money making videos. You have nothing to be sad over. And then I got there and I was like, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff to be sad over. And then... So like that's why whenever I see people commenting that stuff, I don't agree with it, but I can empathize with someone not understanding that when someone gets to where they want to go, that doesn't mean that their problems are just gone.
Because someone else is where you want to be and you think being there is going to make you happy, that does not mean that that's true. Yeah. That doesn't mean that there's any validity in that. 100%. So for you, the way you sort of brought mental health into your life and started to be more aware of it was after reaching what you thought were some check marks or some goals for you, you realize there's more.
Yeah. And also my hair started falling out because I got alopecia and understand why. I thought maybe it was just like I woke up one day and I was missing a patch of hair, and then I went to a dermatologist. Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah,
like
not
trying to scare anybody watching, but you can just wake up and your hair can just start falling out.
No kidding.
Yeah. Some people get it a lot worse. I was really lucky. I only had like 8 patches of hair missing at its worst, but some people, they lose all your hair, you lose your eyebrows, your beard, your eyelashes. Especially if you're like a girl. Dude, imagine being a female and just waking up one day and your hair is just falling out.
Years of growth gone.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just
it's so awful.
Yeah. And unexplained.
Yeah,
like nothing prior to. You wake up and gone.
Literally, like I because I got a haircut and I went home and I saw that there was a patch missing, but it's because
this fucker nicked.
yeah. But I had hair like this for a long time, and then I got it cut. So I was like, oh, he must have just. But then I looked and it was like shaven. Like shaven. Like, you know, it's like you're
bald.
I don't have hair on my ass cheeks.
Yes.
Which implies that I have hair in other spots over there. We don't need to talk about that. But like, it's so smooth. Like, that's what it was like. So I was like, oh, there's no way he just randomly did this. So then I searched it up, and then it's extremely terrifying when you read it saying like you have alopecia. It can be caused by this, and stress.
Interesting.
Because your hair falling out is pretty stressful. Right. So it's really hard when someone's
it's a snowball here,
it's like
man.
the classic, like when you tell a parent about anxiety and they say like, just don't be anxious.
Yeah. Okay. I'm more anxious now. Thanks.
Yeah. So that was my main thing when that started happening and that collided with me realizing that YouTube and money wasn't going to make me happy. I was like, okay, something needs to change, because clearly I'm neglecting part of my, or just neglecting something that's super important, that I'm trying to please that area of myself in places that it literally can't be pleased.
Because the things that you thought were going to be the resolution to how you're feeling can't be. So now you got to kind of shift and identify, well, what is going to be the resolution how you're feeling?
And I think that's why a lot of people, you know, like yourself, you said you didn't really know anything about mental health until college. That's why a lot of people don't get a chance to learn about it, is because they're latched onto that idea of, okay, I may be anxious, I may be unhappy, but once I have all this money in my bank account,
I'll be okay.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's lots of people who just never get there. So they can just continuously blame that on their unhappiness in a fucked up way. Like, I'm super fortunate to have gotten there and been able to realize it. But it's fucked up because it's like, so now only successful people can realize you know,
that there's more to it than the material success.
Exactly.
But a conversation like this hopefully kind of hits some people, resonates a little bit, and then they go, you know what, maybe I'm feeling comfortable. I think that's going to fix it. Maybe let's pause, look around for a second, you know?
Yeah. It's so much harder to done than
so much easier said than done.
There you go. This is why I don't do fucking podcasts.
Now, if it's okay for me to ask, just on that note of, okay, you reached that point that you thought was going to be it for you.
Yeah.
Once you got there and you realized, okay, that wasn't it. I'm still feeling some anxiety. I'm still feeling stress. What did you turn to, and what has started to help you in managing your own mental health and improving your own mental health? For me, like I said, I mentioned I did counseling. I learned about journaling, that kind of stuff.
That's same for me. I think what you end up doing is doing all the things that people kind of told you to do, that you were like, what the like, I've always been a huge advocate of therapy, of all of that stuff. I also understand that therapy isn't going to fix all your problems. Like, because even like for me, I've gone to therapy for 8 years. I've read so many books, done so many exercises. I'm constantly like challenging myself, and I'm still not like, oh, everything's fine. Like, I'm still, but that's the thing, is like, you have to work at it every single day. Cliches are really awesome. Like, there's a reason that they're cliches, is because like they're cheesy and corny, but they actually,
there's truth to it.
Yeah. Like the whole like figure out who you are is so fucking cringe, and like it's plastered everywhere, but it's so true. Like, you actually need to, like, that's the biggest thing I ever did, was like, look at the things that I do day to day, the things that I chase for validation, for happiness, and just understand myself more and where those things are coming from. What's great and what sucks is that, like, you're literally the only person that knows that. No therapist can tell you the things about you that only you know. You have to be willing to, like, to really dig deep and find out and make yourself vulnerable. And it's it's like scary, but it's really like super impactful. I'd say that like out of all the things like you asked, like that I've kind of gone towards, figuring out more about myself has definitely been the most like I can look back at myself like when I had my hair falling out, and I'm so proud of how far I've come and how much I've changed. Like it's like insane.
It's a lot of self-work, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like something like therapy, for example, and you mentioned you've done therapy for 8 years, right? I've only done counseling for the last 2 years. 8 years even, you cannot tell the story of your life in 8 years to a therapist. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly.
And so that's where that part of working on yourself comes in, right? You get some tools from things like therapy and counseling. You start to understand where to maybe start looking. But at the end of the day, you're still looking. You're still discovering for yourself why things affect you the way they do, you know?
I'd be interested to know like your take on, because you've been done counseling for 2 years. Because that's what the go-to for every single person who is struggling. The classic kind of parental is go to therapy.
Yeah.
Go to therapy. Like I see it in girls' Tinder bios all the time. Like, what are you looking for in a man? Someone who goes to therapy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's great. Do you think that it is, or just like, what do you think? Like, how do you feel about it?
About like the idea of going to therapy?
Or like just like your personal experience. Like, do you think like it's messed up to say like, did it meet your expectations?
Yes. And I'm aware that sometimes you're lucky in having those expectations get met.
Oh, yeah.
I know that some people have bad experiences with counseling or therapy, and it kind of turns you off from the idea of pursuing it. For me, I was lucky. The first counselor I got was great and has like addressed all my needs, and we've maintained a relationship now for 2 years. I'm the kind of person who will tell people who have never been to counseling, who are happy people, to still go and get counseling.
Yeah.
Right. If they're saying, I got nothing to talk about, go to counseling. Like just to establish that connection and know that there's someone there who knows something about your life to then turn to when you will inevitably reach a point where something else is on your mind, you know, you're not 100%. Quite as happy. Yeah. I'm a huge advocate for it. I think that has been the biggest thing or impact in my life and my journey with mental health and understanding myself, right, is speaking to my counselor, because it starts so many conversations within myself.
Yeah.
You know, it gets me to think about stuff I wasn't thinking about.
Exactly. I can't remember who said it, but there was some podcast I was listening to where they said that going to therapy is literally just a person that gets gears turning in your head. They're not there to tell you what to do.
No.
To maybe give you some advice, but their whole job is to just get your mind being like, oh, I've never thought about it that way. It's
awesome. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I love that you tell people who are happy to go to therapy. Yeah. I've never done that with like my friend who's like doing well. That's really good advice.
Because you don't think to. And I didn't. Like I turned to counseling when I ran into trouble. I was feeling so stressed with work, and it was like I was unhappy there. I didn't like it anymore, and I was unhappy. And then I turned to counseling, and that has just shifted my perspective of when I even feel frustrated. You know, I've learned things from counseling about myself that tells me why I'm upset or why I may be more easily triggered and get upset, you know, and start to know when I'm turning to that way. It's improved my communication with people that I care about, you know what I mean? I'm having conversations with people that matter in my life, and it's like, hey, I've mentioned it before on other episodes. I always use this thing where I don't quite know what I'm upset about. That's something I'm still learning about myself. I might not know what I'm upset about, but I know that something's not right. This is why I'm not communicating well with you right now. Shit like that.
Like, give me 15 minutes to actually think about it.
15 minutes, give me a day. You know, like I'll be okay tomorrow.
I think that advice of like, you know, go to therapy even if you're happy is so good, because it's also one of the things that a lot of people do is they end up saying like, oh, I don't need therapy. Like I have my friends, which of course I will freaking explode to my friends as well and just like pour my heart out. I also understand that my friends aren't trained.
They aren't trained.
You know, that's why like coming from like a super codependent family of people who are like, you know, like they go through something really hard and then they instantly call you and say like, I need to talk to you right now. And they're bawling their eyes out. It's okay for you as the person receiving the call to say, I can't take this. Like I can't do this right now, because you're not trained to be able to, one, take someone's emotions and everything they're saying at face value and not relate to them whatsoever, but also take those from somebody that like you really care about. So that's why like going to therapy is so great, because for a lot of people, I feel like they use their friends as their therapists, which is great to talk to your friends, but also it's like they're not trained. Like if like that's where I've felt a lot of anxiety in my life, is when friends bring me their problems and I kind of like, okay, maybe they want a solution, maybe they want some really good advice, but at the end of the day, I can't really give it to them.
No.
Like I can, but like if something bad were to happen because of something I said to do,
there's a liability there, and there's a friendship there.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially at risk, right?
Yeah.
It's like I think this is a very simple analogy, but someone who is physically fit continues to train, right? Someone who is physically fit, who maybe wants to elevate what they're doing in their fitness, goes to a personal trainer. LeBron James has how many trainers and nutritionists and everything that are helping him, even though he's one of the best basketball players in the world, and he still takes care of his physical health that way. I think people should address their mental health in a similar fashion, where if you are feeling well, continue to feel well and start to build those resources. And if you have access to, that's the thing too, if you have access to counseling, therapy, things like that, take it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also like the argument comes up of like, well, I can't afford it. And that's simply like,
that's a fair argument.
It's like, yeah, I get it. It's like, all right, well, what are you going to do then?
And so that's the thing with certain places in the world, right? Where it's not as commonplace. Somewhere like where we live, right? BC, it's we have healthcare, and a lot of the employers around here too, for people who are working at companies, provide benefits that are going to get you access to things like counseling. That's how I got mine. Yeah,
I know I know firsthand how expensive it is because as like YouTuber, no benefits. So like,
so you're paying.
Yeah, and like thankfully I make more than enough money to live, so I can. To me, it's not a big deal, but for somebody who works at the Apple store and doesn't make a fuck ton of money, because like. I don't know what the stat is. Like 90% of people are making like nothing. So
it's great that we can talk about this. We've had good experiences with it, but just to acknowledge, some people don't have access to it.
Yeah.
But there are some resources online, stuff like that too. But podcasts that you can listen to.
Mugs coming soon. One last thing I want to say about the going to therapy, talking to somebody. The analogy that I use, like, and this is just for anybody out there who maybe has a friend who pours out to you all the time, kind of uses you as a personal therapist. I've had a friend who did that to me for a long, long time. And I thought I was a bad friend for not, hearing him out every single time, even if it's something that has happened 30,000 times in the past, even if it's this. And he was really into video games. And I would always try and say, like, bro, you need to see a therapist. Like, I can't give you professional advice on this. And because he was into video games, I tried to make the analogy of, okay, like if you wanted to learn how to speed run Super Mario Odyssey, you wouldn't ask me.
No, you're not.
I don't know how to speed run Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah. You would not come to me with that information. You would go to a professional person who has trained their entire life to speed run that game.
This game in an hour. Yeah.
So anybody out there, if you have a friend who is like super into something, like that's a great way to explain it to them.
On that vein of mental health, we've talked for a little while here now about it. You're going to be doing some work, or you've already started doing some work around mental health. One thing you've done is you've made a new TikTok account that focuses on mental health and seems to be trying to engage an audience to improve their own mental health. And then another thing that you've talked with me about prior to today was potentially starting to write a book.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, why now in your YouTube career are you starting to switch to anything related to mental health? Are you going to be bringing that content to your YouTube channel? Do you think your audience is going to react to it in a way that's positive? Do you want them to gain a certain thing from this?
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be challenges? Just curious about all that work.
Yeah. It's funny about the TikTok page on mental health. It shows how important mental health is I'm already struggling to like, with my mental health, to keep doing it. I told myself I was going to post every single day for 30 days. And after 5 days, I forgot one day. And then the next day, I was like, well, the last ones didn't get that many views. And then it just goes in that self-sabotage way of, I think it's a great like thing. A dude starts mental health TikTok page and then his mental health makes him stop doing it. It's like, that just shows how important it is.
In motion, man.
With the book, the reason I wanted to do it in the first place is just because I really wish when I was younger, as you probably do now as well, that you were introduced to some sort of mental health thing, whether it's a book, a YouTube channel, a podcast, whatever it may be. And I'm sure you're reaching young people with this as well, which is awesome. I've just kind of figured that I've always been the guy who once I hit that low, I've kind of just done what everybody has always told you to do. Like, I'm the dude who's like gone to therapy. My therapist tells me to do this. I did it. My therapist tells me to do this. I do it. This person tells me, and I just did everything. And I've learned so much that I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to die. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get this out to people so that they, like, whether it's kids, whether you're old and you never learned anything yet, I just want to take, like, I've always written in a journal, just take everything in my journal and take the best parts, what I've learned, the exercises I've done, and just put it into a book that someone can pick up and read and just learn more about themselves. I've tried to like make YouTube videos before on my channel about mental health.
Right.
The fact that 99% of my videos are about eating way too much and farting, the algorithm doesn't really love it when I'm like, you know,
throwing in mental health.
Letting,
what the hell is
like,
this guy doing?
Yeah, like letting the person in front of me decide in the next video is 10 tips on how to improve your mental health. Like, I get why it doesn't work. So that's why like TikTok's so great. I've thought about doing like an online course as well, but something feels dirty to me about it. I don't know why.
It's gatekeeping mental health.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thought that came into my mind. Not to say that it is.
Yeah.
Right. But that in my head is like to put mental health behind a paywall is strange. But it's the same way as therapy, right?
The same way as a book too. That's what I think. I'm like, why am I okay with
doing a book is cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, that's true.
Hell of a lot cheaper than therapy.
I was trying to think of some way to make the book free. I was trying to think of like maybe I could do a book that if you finish it, there's like a one of those codes you can take a picture of, and it's a quiz. And then it's questions from the book about the book, and if you prove that you finished it, it'll like PayPal you the amount for the
reimbursed.
Book. Yeah.
That'd be sweet, man. Yeah.
Worst business decision ever, but I'm like, I feel like that would be
you just find the answer somewhere online after that.
No. I'll have to work around that.
Man. But it's so why now are you deciding to make that pivot towards mental health? Why do you think now is the right time for you and your audience, your journey with YouTube?
Not that I put all my eggs in one basket, but YouTube has just been always so exciting to me and fun and new that I've never really had to think about anything else. So when COVID hit, you know, and I'm forced to now, it's just like, it kind of took me back to when I first started making videos, and without the, you know, going to a convention and meeting people who watch you, or going through the mall and someone walks up to you and says, hey, like, I love your stuff. At times, like, you can see the numbers on the screen, but at times when you're posting without that, you're like, is anybody watching this?
Is anybody checking this shit out? Yeah.
Does this mean anything? Like, sure, people are commenting, I'm making money, I'm gaining likes, subscribers, but like, is this really anything? Because at the end of the day, it literally is just pixels on a screen. Of course, I don't doubt that people are watching the videos. It just feels like I'm just making this piece of content and putting it, and it's just disappearing. So when that happened,
that's a good point.
You know, I was like, let me think of something else I can be doing, because I have so much knowledge about mental health. I feel like every time I've ever like gone out on a date with someone new, I always end up just being a therapist and like teaching them
They must love you, man.
I don't know if they do or don't. Like, I always just end up like, it's so hard for me not to like psychoanalyze people, which I know is super unhealthy. But it's also so hard when someone like talks about, because I'm an open book. Like, I love talking about everything I've been through. I'm not really embarrassed about a whole lot of things. So I feel like that makes other people want to open up as well.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to see someone who is maybe going through something that I've been through, and it's like I have like a really good, not solution, but like a really good thing you could be doing in the back of my head. It's so hard for me to not blurt that out. So after doing that with like friends, dates, whatever it may be, I'm like, I need to take that energy and channel it somewhere else.
Right.
So that's why I was like, maybe I'll write a book. I don't know. It's been fun to like just like spend every single day writing, figuring stuff out, and learning more. Like, even through writing my book, I'm learning more about myself too, which is dope.
I was going to say, like, where in the process are you right now with this book?
So I have everything written. Yeah.
No shit.
I spent a good like 10 days just every single morning waking up and writing for an hour. Because a lot of what I want to do is more of like kind of a workbook. Like, I don't want it to just be like, here's my story.
Here's a wall of text.
Here's why I'm so fucking great.
Yeah.
Be like me. Like, I don't want that to be what it is. I want it to be more like, here's who I am.
Here's what I've been through.
Yeah.
Here's what I've done.
And then the rest is just like a chapter on vulnerability, a chapter on fear, a chapter on being authentic, a chapter on empathy, like, and just giving definitions on saying how it's helped me, and how it can help you too. Because like being,
I love the idea, man.
You'll definitely get a copy once it's done. You can you can be a tester.
Let's go.
But yeah, like vulnerability. I feel like it's even just that. I'm like, I didn't even know what the fuck that was until I was like 21. But it's like, it's so important. And I don't even know if a lot of people really understand it, because it's just like, it changed my life so much. And that's why I'm like, I just want people to know. And I think a book is maybe the best way. I don't know.
It's the best way that you can see right now, right?
Yeah.
It's the best way that you're looking at it. And that's all that matters, is your perspective of it.
Or
being
a regular on the On Your Mental podcast, guys. Announcing right now, I'm going to be on every episode this year. No, that's not happening. I'm sorry,
man. Happy to have you back, though.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
He's just like lingering in the background of the episode,
just like scaling the wall with like a piece of paper with text, and like my takes are just being slapped against the wall.
Man, I'm in for it. I think it's a good idea. Cool, man. So you've reached a point where the way that your content had been, I guess, even experienced by yourself after you've put it out, because pre-COVID, you would have other ways to interact with your audience. You would see people in real life. You would see the physical, tangible, like, this is the impact of what I'm doing. COVID kind of revealed to you that that's not necessarily the case all the time, and it shifted the way that you view your own content after it's come out. Now you're thinking, okay, who's seeing my shit? Does this matter? What's another way that I can put some impact out into the world? And you've started to focus on mental health, because now you're just paying more attention to your mental health. Does that sound about right as like a summary as to why you're doing that?
I think it's like partly because of COVID, because I felt like nothing was really going on. Also, I think the amount of worth that I put into my YouTube channel, and like that being who I am. Like, I'm the YouTube guy. Like, I'm the YouTuber. Like, that's why people like me. That's why people want to hang out with me. That's why people want to talk to me. For so long, that was always my driving force for like posting videos, is because like I need to be the YouTuber. Otherwise, like, what the fuck am I? I'm just a guy. I don't want to be a guy.
Nobody wants to be a guy.
Yeah.
Come
on. And that, taking that entire, because that's like a massive door I'm opening up when I'm like approaching the idea of, okay, I consider myself the YouTuber. Why? You know, what's behind that? There's a million questions behind that. And I came to the conclusion kind of that for so long I've just considered myself the YouTuber, because that's where I've put all of my worth. And then once I kind of analyzed myself as a person and understood what actually made me worth it more, like, you know, my creativity, I'm funny, I have a lot of knowledge, and I have, you know, a lot of experience, and I know a lot about mental health. And then I was like, okay, so let me use those things into something else besides just YouTube. So then I'm not just hardcore focusing on them and a number of views I'm getting. And it helped me open up more to other things. And other things also, with the possibility of it flopping like crazy. Because making a book, definitely, probably something I've thought about for a long time, but always just been like, what if nobody buys it?
And that's like a new challenge unto itself too, right? You've learned how to manage YouTube, and you've learned how to become successful in that space because you've done it. You see the proof that you've done it. And now to step into writing a book, that's a whole other realm, right?
Yeah, it's like going all the way back to the beginning, which is dope and beautiful and amazing, and something that everybody should do. It's just fucking scary, because then your ego gets involved. I'm sure you were probably scared to make a podcast for the first, because like just thinking about myself back when I started making videos, I was like, well, what if this gets 5 views and then someone from my fucking work sees it and they see that it has now 6 views? You know what I mean? Did that ever like make you want to stop, or like almost stop you in your tracks from doing it?
I don't think I reached a point where I thought like, okay, I'm not going to do this. Nice. My reason for wanting to start the podcast was originally that I wanted like a creative outlet. That was before I realized what I wanted to do with the podcast, before I had a topic idea, before I had On Your Mental in mind. I knew I wanted to make a podcast. Didn't know what about. Took like 8 months before the idea of On Your Mental came into my head, and then I was like, oh shit, like this is a good idea. I could talk about this. I am overly open with my friends. I can do that online, and people might like it. Right? People might want to like be a part of that. So that for me, it was never like, oh, if this doesn't get views, I wanted to try no matter what, and
that's dope.
See how things go. But on that topic of let's see how many views something gets, and that tells me I'm worth it. Yeah. That ties into something else that we've talked about before, which was conditional worth.
Yeah.
And in a moment, I'll ask you to kind of like share with the audience like what that is and what you understand conditional worth as. But before you do, everything that you're saying, you strike me as a person. I've met you now 3 times in real life. We've seen each other 3 times in real life. You strike me as the kind of person who does want to give to the world. You want to give back, whether that's to your social circle, your friends, your family. You want to give to your audience. You want to improve the world around you.
Yeah.
Would you say that kind of like strikes as true?
Yeah, 100%.
And I find it interesting. Like you're someone who wants to give so much, but there's like a level of criticality that comes back onto yourself that you put back onto yourself of, okay, but I still have these metrics I got to check off.
Yeah.
So conditional worth comes in. What is conditional worth? How did you hear about it? Why does it matter? Why should it matter?
So conditional worth, there's an author named Aziz Gazipura. Sorry if that was probably wrong.
All right.
Aziz G.
Sorry.
He's has 3 books that I've listened to. One is called, the first one is just about confidence, unleashing your inner confidence, about being confident with who you are. The second one is called Not Nice, which is a great book that I highly recommend anybody who is a people pleaser listen to. Sorry to give him a huge plug on your pod.
That's all right.
And the third book is called On Your Own Side. And there's a part of that book that talks about conditional worth. And as humans, we put a lot of our worth onto conditional things, whether that be, like we talked about before, how me growing up, I thought I was going to be happy when I had a certain number of subscribers, the amount of money I have. A big one for me has always been the people liking me. And what I noticed is I was kind of always, again, able to hit all of those things. Like I kind of, YouTube I was able to do. I was able to buy my own apartment. I was able to meet people's friends and they would like me. For so long, I kind of thought that I had confidence, but what I realized is that when those things weren't there, I hated myself. When someone in a coffee shop, my amount of worth that I would put onto the way people thought about me, but the amount that I would preach that I had confidence was like insane, which is such a huge, those are 2 opposite things.
Yeah. It's what's that? An oxymoron? Is that the right thing? Contradictory statements. Those are contradictory things.
Yeah, oxymoron. Sure.
Oxymoron. Yeah, something like that. I don't. Whatever.
Yeah. Who cares?
Forget about it.
Buy the fucking mugs. So once I realized that I was doing that, because I've been doing it for so long, for me, it hit so hard because I've been doing it since I was a kid. Coming from a single mom with a sister who my mom and my sister didn't get along, and me being the person that would always mediate the fights. And okay, if they're not happy, I shouldn't be happy. Like that codependent style. I kind of picked up these behaviors of, okay, so if my mom and sister are happy, that means I'm a good person. So let me latch onto that. And then it would go to okay, well, I have to go to my aunt's house for the weekend again. And the only thing we eat at her place are these sus ass hot dogs. And she only has ketchup, which I love ketchup, but 40 times is not enjoyable.
Relish, come on.
Yeah. But I can't complain about that because if my mom isn't only loving everything I do, that means I'm a bad son. When I got older and I kind of learned about that more, there's no way that everyone doesn't do this. I feel like there's some way in your life that you are putting your worth onto conditions because it's just kind of how we're raised. Through school, then, when you get an F on your test, right? You should have aced that the first time. If you're not getting all A's, what are you, stupid?
Yeah, you're an idiot.
Which doesn't make any sense. So then what I ended up doing is kind of just making a list of all the things that I feel like I'm putting my worth into. And then instead of latching onto those things, what I did and what I encourage everybody to do, if you are even able to be aware of the things that you're doing, because I think it takes a lot of self-discovery to even notice when you are putting your worth onto certain conditions.
And for you, those conditions were, just to remind people again who are listening right now, it was needing to be liked by other people with certain views, with certain income, and with certain subscribers, things like that.
Yeah. Right? Or like needing to have people be sexually attracted to me and mentally attracted to me instead of
check, right?
I mean, I'm not going to be on the pod every single one this year, so.
But yeah, sorry. Go.
So yeah, and then instead of just writing down, I'm not worth it. My conditional worth is people have to like me. And being able to look at that and be like, okay, like, where does my true worth come from in that scenario? Well, my true worth comes from, why do people like me in the first place? People like me because I'm funny. People like me because I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm authentic. I'm this. So therefore, whether people like me or not, it doesn't fucking matter because I know I'm these things.
You're doing those.
And that's what I want people to like me for. So like that sparked a huge thing in my life where I'm like, now I want people to not like me.
That turns that condition around a little bit, right? It gives you the control over the condition. It makes you realize I'm still doing these that are the components of that condition.
Yeah, 100%.
Way, right? I can maintain that because that's who I am.
Yeah.
That makes me worthy of happiness and feeling content with my life, right?
Yeah.
And then that lets you control that condition a little bit more. It doesn't become a condition so much as just a result of who you are.
Yeah, it's like you don't. And then at that point, you don't even have to worry about people liking you, the number of views you get, the amount of money you have. Well, I mean, money's a little bit of a different scenario because you need that to live. But it just opened me up so much to like, it's just like so freeing to be able to be aware of the conditions you have on your worth and being able to just put them in a box and close it and be like, again, it's a cliche, but like I am worth it no matter what, no matter how many views I'm getting. No matter how many of my friends like me, like it does. No matter how many of your viewers maybe think I'm a fucking asshole, or think that I talk too much. Like it doesn't matter because I know that I'm worth it.
Now, to play like a tiny bit of devil's advocate there, not even devil's advocate, but I would imagine that takes work to continually maybe look back at that because you can't one day realize, okay, this is the condition that I need. These are the components of what I think I do and who I am that allows me to reach that condition or meet that condition. I can't imagine that all of a sudden you're like, okay, yeah, no, I don't need that condition anymore.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
100%.
There's still that period, and I'm sure it might even come back and forth sometimes into your life of like, okay, I'm still not hitting that condition that I want this week, this month, whatever, right? How is that, and how do you kind of manage that?
That's a great point too, because also you can think about it from a perspective of, okay, well then now that I don't have the condition of YouTube, my views on my videos being my worth is like, so what, now I'm just going to stop making videos?
Right.
That was a reason, like that book on your own side, because I'm really good at listening to books that are about interactions with other people, like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you heard of that book?
I've heard that book. Yeah.
It's a great book. It's about learning how to interact with humans, how to get the most out of relationships.
Sound like a robot. Interact with humans.
I'm not a robot. Just start glitching out. It is like, it's great. It's also like, if you are a people pleaser, you can take that book and take it as, everyone's gonna fucking like me now.
Yeah.
This is great. I can just put aside everything I've ever wanted because this book is telling me that the way to do life is to win friends. So I've always been so good with those books, like books that are about like fortifying your relationships with other people. I could read those all day. But the second I read On Your Own Side, where it's literally just about my relationship with myself, an hour in, I was like, what the fuck is this like stupid bullshit? Like, this isn't, I am on my own side. Like, what do you mean? Like, do you see my apartment? Like, clearly I'm on my own side.
Look at my checklist here. Look at my conditions. Do you see this?
It definitely is. It's always a fight. Like, I'm sure you know as well. Like, you go to counseling, you have this podcast, you talk to your friends. Like, mental health is always something you have to be thinking about.
Not every day is great.
You know,
there have been days where I scheduled a shoot and I canceled it because I wasn't feeling good.
Yeah, and that's the exact thing that you need to do. You need to cancel shoots that you're not feeling. You need to really be on your own side. Because also I've noticed with mental health things, like I'm the type of person where I'll find out something new about myself and it'll help me so much for a week. And then my ego starts getting involved and I start going back and I start going into the familiar. Yeah. And it's all about, again, knowing more about yourself and being able to notice the things of like, oh shit, like I just walked through this coffee shop and I like tried to walk cool so that people that were sitting around, would, you know, or like I'm eating a muffin and I really want to eat this muffin with a fork and a knife, but I'm going to look like a fucking loser. So let me eat it with my hands. Like that, those are places that I go all the time. I feel you, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. I saw a TikTok today that was like, I posted on my story, it was like, why is it so embarrassing to turn around in public?
Yeah, I saw
and I'm like, dude, same. Like when I'm on a run,
who gives a shit?
And then dude, at times when I'm on a run, I'll be at the end of my run, and it'll be not at like the end of the pathway, and I'll turn around and I'll be like, I wonder what people thought I just turned around for. Like I go there all the time. It's so unhealthy. Now I'm way more able to notice those things, and those are little things. There are bigger things that you do, like editing a video. It's really easy to be editing a video and get wrapped up in, fuck, how many people are going to watch this? Like, I haven't made an edit in 3 minutes. Like, they're going to click off. They're going to click off. I just went on a tangent. I've mentioned buying the mugs 3 times now. Like, they're going to hate me. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, man.
Yeah, like, it's so easy to go on those tangents. But again, once you notice, like, oh, if somebody clicks off because I've mentioned the mugs 3 times, it does not matter.
Who cares?
Because what I did was I was being like, I was clicking on for me. You know, they clicked off, but I was clicking myself. Sounds like a weird sex masturbatory thing.
But I get what you're saying, man. And it's like, what I love about you talking about conditional worth and talking about just identifying and learning more and more about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Reading this book that flipped things on to building a relationship with you, is these tools do not fix you overnight. We mentioned that at the very beginning of our conversation. It's not an instant fix with things like therapy. Understanding conditional worth and doing that exercise of, here's my condition, here's who I am and how I meet that condition, how I know I meet that condition. Doing that doesn't make you feel better instantly, but it's another tool that allows you to understand yourself more, which allows you to better react to the stresses that life's going to throw at you. And the things that are going to put you in a state that would otherwise be filled with anxiety or depression or whatever it may be, right?
100%.
They're tools. That's it. And the stuff that you've learned are tools to help you better manage your own mental health.
Yeah.
Right.
Like your gym analogy is perfect as well. Cause it's like, you know, you go into the gym and you're lifting 10-pound weights, and the next time you go in, you can lift 15. You're still lifting. You know what I mean?
It's the same exercise.
Yeah,
and you're doing the same exercise.
And you never stop, but every single time you go in, that 10-pound weight that you were lifting a year ago is going to feel like absolutely nothing. And that's just like a perfect metaphor for, you know, you were anxious about this little thing a year ago, and yeah, your anxiety might not be gone, but like, think about that thing now and how you're like, I was worried about that.
But continuing to do the work is equally as important, because you can step out of the gym for a year and that 10 pounds might feel a little heavy again. Right?
Exactly.
That same weight, that same anxiety, that same burden of stress may feel like more work than it was if you had continued and maintained. For those who are already happy, for those who aren't, if you can, start trying to find some of these tools, like what you're talking about, the book that you recommended, the book that you're writing, this podcast. Find these tools if you don't have access to something like counseling, therapy. And if you do, find these tools anyways. The more the better.
Oh,
right?
yeah. 1,000,000%. There's an endless amount of stuff you can do online. You just have to know that you're worth the time.
100%.
You know?
Derek, thank you so much for everything that you shared so far in our conversation today. I think there's some cool tools you've identified. I loved hearing about conditional worth the first time we talked about it. We just were messaging about it. I think it's a cool concept. You're breaking down those check marks on your list of like what you think you need to be happy. You're breaking down that into components that are real and are with you no matter what you're doing. Right? I think that's the cool thing about conditional worth, is those aspects are always there. Your empathy, your authenticity, your vulnerability, right? Your humor, that's all there with you all the time, right? So I think that's cool.
I think the thing that, with a quick note, like I mentioned, like you think that that's going to make you kind of stop, you know, oh, well, now I'm not going to make as many friends because all I was doing was trying to make friends to make myself worthy. I'm going to stop making videos. It's so shocking how when you take the need and like this is what's going to make me worthy away from things, how much more you actually want to do them and how much longer you can do them. It's
interesting. It's somewhat related to manifestation in a way. I saw something about manifestation recently where it's like the common way of thinking about manifestation when you hear about it. And it's what I thought. I was like, oh, I have to say things, I have to write things down, and then like the more you do it every day, it's going to become true. But no, it's like identifying like what makes you happy, what makes you content with who you are. When you stop chasing these things and needing these things and grabbing for them all the time, that's when they pour in.
Yeah, 100%.
That's when the stuff comes to you, right?
Yeah.
So when you stop going, oh, I need people to like me, and you stop putting this pressure to reach out and get people to like you, even more people are going to like you because they're like, oh shit, like, this guy's just a nice guy, right? Like you're not trying to make sure that people like you.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
like
that example.
A thing about control. I remember this quote about control is, the more that you try to control things is the more that you tell your brain you don't have control. Like the more that you're trying to make people like you, the more you're telling yourself that people don't like you. The more that you try and just like do anything to get likes on Instagram, you're literally telling your brain
you're not getting likes on Instagram.
You don't have the ability. You need to figure it out. The second that you tell yourself like, oh, people just like me. Like that's like, I think manifestation gets a bad rep because people are like, oh, it's this hippie.
It's corny. Yeah, people say it's corny.
Yeah. Like it's hippie and like, what, I'm just supposed to sit there and think about money all day, I'm going to get it. It's like, you can have that negative outlook on it, but at the end of the day, it's literally just about telling yourself that you can do it and that you do not need to continuously chase. It's like the guy who's continuously trying to get into a relationship never gets into a relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The moment you stop, that's when it happens, right?
Yeah,
People always say that, right? That's another cliche, right?
Yeah.
The moment you stop looking for a relationship, that's when somebody shows up.
Yeah, because then you just start thinking about things that you want to do, things you enjoy. And guess what? You're more likely to meet someone that you fucking vibe with when you're doing shit that you enjoy. Like. You know what I mean? Instead of going to coffee shops that you hate and hoping to meet like a Korean girl or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, is this what you mean?
I've never done that. But like, kind of loser does that.
The best kind. Derek, again, thank you. And I wanted to just end off around here. But if there were a message that you wanted to leave for my audience, for your audience who's coming to maybe check out this episode, hey, everybody, what would that message be about taking care of your mental health?
I think the thing that helped me the most was figuring out that it's okay to put yourself above literally everything else. Like whether it be your family, your friends, like at the end of the day, the best way to build the best relationship with your family, the best with your friends, the best with your work, the best with anything you want to do is to put yourself first. Because once you put yourself at the top of the list and you make sure you're in check before going down the list and doing everything else, when you're doing everything else, it actually means something and it's actually genuine versus, you know, making sure your mom's okay and then making sure your buddy's okay and then going to work, even if, you know, you have a sick day and you feel like you really need to stay home and then, you know, posting 5 photos on Instagram and a TikTok and then doing everything that you think you need to do. If you just take that thing from the bottom and put it to the top, literally everything else in your life just gets so much better.
I love it.
Yeah. And if people in your life cannot accept you putting yourself first, then they shouldn't be in your life.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a really clear message. And it's like you, by putting yourself first, when you are then extending yourself to those other people in your life and doing those other things in your life, you're your best self for those other people. Right.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
the impact that they're feeling from you is the best possible you could give them, right?
Yeah.
Because you've taken care of yourself first.
The advice that I always give to people who can't understand that is then put yourself first for other people. If you have someone that you really care about and you're like, dude, I have this friend who I always like, I want to be there for them so bad, but I've hit a wall and I can't, or like I just around them, I get so much anxiety now. If you're struggling with the concept of putting yourself first for you, you can take a baby step and be like, I'm going to put myself first because I want to make sure this friendship works. And if that's what you have to tell yourself in order to do it, like more power to you. Eventually you can come around to the grips with I'm putting myself first for me. But if you need to put yourself first in order to, you know, rebuild a relationship or something like that, like tell yourself that if that's what you need to do.
Yeah. Whatever gets you to put yourself first.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Derek. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Welcome back to On Your Mental Season 3.
Yes, let's go. You'll see me next week right at the outside this
window.
Right
out the window, dangling. He's going to be cleaning the window.
I get a full-blown job just to do it.
if we stick to it's middle of the night, he's the only guy.
You're gonna regret giving me your address.
Oh man, everybody! I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed the return of On Your Mental. I hope you're excited for season 3. I am. Derek maybe is.
Yes, if you've made it this far. Like the podcast.
Like the podcast.
Just like it.
Like it.
Comment down below. Subscribe. If you're still here, that clearly means that you like it.
Yeah. So I mean,
so just it's free.
Just let me know.
Just do it. Dude. Yeah. Come on.
Anyways, everybody, we will see you next week. Kabir's back next week, and we'll be bringing y'all some good content week to week for a long time to come this year.
Let's go. I'm pumped.
We'll see y'all then. Peace.